Okay,
All
looks
right.
like it's going.
Yep.
All right. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for your flexibility and your speed in helping to find a mutually extensively agreeable meeting date. That was very helpful, and you made it a pretty painless process. As I mentioned, well, I think most of you are on. Barbara pointed out to me, I thought the agenda had been sent out to everybody on Friday. Apparently, that was not the case. I apologize. It is should be in your inbox now, but let me run over before I turn it over to Peter the list of things that we are going to provide updates on today. So the first is an Ancestry.com partnership by Kathy. She's going to say something about the World War II Separation Notices Project. Third is the 250th project application. Kathy will report out on that. Greg's going to provide a diseased microfilm update. And I'll just mention right now, Greg is taking more of a lead role in this part of the project because it's very InfoLinks intensive. And I don't have that level of knowledge. So that's why he's probably going to report out on that more regularly from this point forward. Greg will also provide an update on the CCRP grant cycle. And I'm going to provide updates on repairs made to the SRC and the SRC expansion project. So with that, we'll turn it over to Peter to run the meeting.
Dr. Metz, right quick before Peter jumps on, I didn't receive that email with for the agenda.
Okay, let me check.
I did not either.
Okay, hang on a sec.
Could we copy and paste it into the chat as well?
Yeah, let me do that right now. Huh. I don't know what's wrong. Your addresses are listed on here, but let me first copy and paste into chat, and then I will attempt to send it to you again. Zoom. Okay. Chat. Okay. Here we go. And there. Does everybody see that in chat?
I see it, but it's not a accessible document.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, okay. I see what you did. Never mind, Doc. Never mind. I see what you did.
Okay.
You're good. You're good.
So, okay, Peter, well, do you want to take it from here? And I will make sure that Dr. Canada and Paul get the agenda.
Okay, John, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. I'm having some technical difficulties here at this end. I don't have a picture of myself on the screen. I don't know if you all do or not.
No.
All right. Well, anyway, I will continue then. I can see you all. And if for some reason we lose a voice connection, please carry on without me. But thank you for putting the agenda together. And so I guess why don't we just jump in that I think Kathy has the first three items. Kathy, if you want to start telling us first about the Ancestry.com partnership.
Sure, happy to do that. Hi, everybody. So I know that I'm fairly certain you've all heard about this Ancestry partnership since I talk about it, since I seem to talk about it all the time. We have just finished up basically our first year of the agreement as far as production goes. So Ancestry is just finishing up the last, I think, 1,500 reels of personal property tax microfilm, and they've finished everything else. They have finished their on-site digitization of vital records from the 1896 through 1911 time period that we have. as well as some city directories. And all of that material should be publicly available within about the next year. And I have some dates for you, which Peter, I'll send to you as a document.
Thank you.
So you don't have to like write this down. The personal property tax records, the images alone should be available in October. The indexing is to be determined because they are hoping, and we're not sure if this is a go yet, that they can use some of their new AI developments that they have created at Ancestry to do some indexing of those records. Because if they had humans doing it, it would cost them like $1 million or something like that, which makes me feel even more confident in our decision to let Ancestry take these records on for digitization and public accessibility. So that would be really exciting if they could test this new software they have for indexing handwritten records. I'll have more on that probably at the next meeting. Births and deaths from 1896 to 1911, images and indexing should be available by October of 2024. Virginia Department of Military Affairs index cards by November of 2024, and the city directories by March of 2025. Now, Virginians will have free access to all of these records through Ancestry for Virginians. And the city directories component will be, the free directories will only be those that we have let them scan for us. So that part of the project was filling gaps that they had in their behind their paywall. But we opted because, you know, per the they wondered, Ancestry wondered if having that kind of random array of city directories in Ancestry for Virginians would be helpful to users, but we decided that that's part of the agreement, so we didn't want to start screwing around with stuff that we agreed to with Ancestry, and we'll let patrons have access to what they can through Ancestry for Virginians. Of course, any libraries that have subscription to Ancestry Institution will be able to provide access to the full complement of city directories that they have. So I think many libraries do have that. That said, I'm in discussion with Lisa Pearl, my contact at Ancestry right now, about new collections for the second year. And the one that is especially of interest to me is the land tax records from 1782 to around 1900 or wherever with that. So she has taken that back to her people at Ancestry, and I've yet to hear if they want to do that. Other than that, we're just, Peter, I know you're going to ask me about the Newport News records, and I think we'll be able to get those for Ancestry. I think I need to talk to Selma. There's some confusion. Let's just say that there has been some confusion about it, but we will see what we can get if Ancestry, I might just hook Ancestry up with our friends in Newport News with the Historical Society, Genealogical Society.
Genealogical, I think.
Yeah. So hopefully, Barbara, do you have a question? You're muted. Unmute. There you go.
What about the missing records? Remember Albemarle that I talked to you about?
No. Tell me. No. No.
These were the 1853 to 1896 records.
Oh, yeah. That's a different thing. So Barbara, because she is a tenacious researcher, discovered that on Ancestry for Virginians, and I imagine on just Ancestry Institution, their paid version, that they had missed what appears to be a reel of vital records microfilm from the early vital records. So yes, they went and investigated and found that was true. So they've asked Family Search, I believe, did the actual work. So they requested all of it from Family Search, as well as several other reels, because they said some numbers were a little low for what they were expecting. So they're going back and doing an entire QC of a big chunk of those records. So thank you very much. And they said to thank you as well for letting them know about that, because it's there's a lot of stuff. So,
well, it's really, unless you're very familiar with the records and what should be available, it's difficult. A random record doesn't tell you anything. So
exactly. So they appreciate it. I appreciate it. And they're getting that fixed.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And now I'll turn down my,
Okay. You can put your hand down too, unless you have another, or unless you just want to keep it up. There you go. Peter, you want me to pop on to World War II?
Sure, unless there are any other questions, go right ahead to World War II.
Okay, so very good news is the digitization of the collection has been completed. So they finished that up in March. There's a grand total of 525,580 images that cover the records for 252,900 veterans. So we got a lot of stuff. We knew it. We knew it when we said we were going to do it, but now that we have it all, we really know how much stuff it is. So we're starting to accelerate some of our promotion of this. You'll see in the next broadside several articles about this project. We are going to be partnering over at we're starting to discuss partnerships with the Virginia War Memorial, and we'll be attending their Hill of Heroes Day in June, which is what they have for fallen soldiers from Virginia. It's an event there where we will probably be introducing some associated records with the separation notices. And we have gotten a list. They're doing a new D-Day exhibit to open up in June as well. And we've gotten a list of all of their Virginia D-Day veterans. So we are going to go through and try to find separation notices in our collections to offer to them if they would like to leverage those in some way during the course of the exhibit. We're still doing a bunch of transcription events. We've had about 8,000 documents have been put up from the page, and I think like over half of them are complete. So that's kind of a lot in a few months. People are really getting into it. We've had several students. We've had the Maggie Walker School is an active partner with us in our Making History crowdsourcing project. So I think Sonia and Lauren went over to Maggie Walker about a month ago to do their kind of end of year project, like meeting. They do one at the beginning of the year and then they go at the end to kind of wrap it up. And they said there were over 50 students involved, and those were just the ones there. So Maggie Walker has been a fantastic partner for us. We've also created a partnership between the Henrico County Public Library and several of the IB programs at Henrico High School. So that is another area where we've had a bunch of students get involved. And of course, as Peter knows, the House of Delegates pages this year worked on the separation notices as part of their community service project. So it's been really fun having kids get into this, and the things that, amaze them about the records. Like, they didn't know there were so many jobs in the military. Like, gee, not everybody, shot a gun or whatever. So it's really been, I think, very interesting for them, and wanting to know more about especially women who participated. There's a lot there. We've had some kids find family members, grandfathers and things like that in the records. So it's been great and it's cool. And we're just going to keep on trucking with it. Do you have any questions about that project?
yes.
Barbara?
Okay, so you've got two local schools.
Mhm.
Is there any reason why this couldn't be expanded into the Netherlands, so to speak?
No, there's no reason. It's just us getting our feet under ourselves with the project. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
yeah,
start to-
that was what I was wondering. I don't know
Yeah.
how much back work it is
Yeah.
for you all to let's say just add one school.
yeah.
How much time it's going to take.
Yeah, I think we're going to start looking into it, because as we are starting to promote it more, especially. And Lauren, who is the project manager, is getting an intern this summer through the Transforming Libraries project. So that will be exciting. And I'm hoping maybe to get her a part-time hire this summer through some funding the foundation has to facilitate some of this work. Because it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. But yeah, I think we definitely want to reach out to more schools.
Because it's a great way to get kids involved in history. It really is.
Yeah, and they like them because they're a little bit easier to read than the handwriting.
Well, based upon my great nieces and nephews, handwriting is essentially a foreign language.
Right. I mean, we have some kids who really try. I mean, adults too. They want to win at that handwriting Sadly, they don't always win so much, as much as maybe they think they're winning. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, well, Kathy, why don't you go on to the 250 project then?
Okay. I don't know much basically, but I do anticipate that we will have more information in the coming weeks, especially as all the budget stuff gets sorted out. I don't ever pay attention to that too closely because there are other people here who do. They just tell me when it's over and how much money we have. So waiting on that. I think it'll be cool. We've been doing a little bit of preliminary work around other collections we can add to it. We do have the Thomas Nelson papers, which is a Save America's Treasures grant for Nelson's gubernatorial papers from 1781. I want to say 81. I think he was in there. And we're actually adding, there were two very short-term interim governors, Jameson and Fleming, on either side of Nelson that we're putting up. So they're going to be new pretty governor's letters received up and available for users, because what's up there now is this disgusting microfilm that did not digitize well 400 years ago when they did it. So we're hoping to fix that. So yeah, so we're thinking about the 250th. We're looking at other collections. We're bringing them in, and so hopefully we'll be ready to go when the commission gives the actual word.
Right.
And I'll let you know. I know they had a meeting today, but I think Dennis was there. I was not. I'm not. Dennis is taking over as the liaison or the library's member on the commission.
Right. No, Dennis was there. I was also there, and the Chairman Austin of the commission, who is also on the budget conference, he basically said, "Who knows?"
Well,
Ben Dendy tried to point out reassuringly that the $20 million had been in the House budget, the Senate budget, and hadn't been touched by the governor. And Chairman Austin said, "You're right. Those are all encouraging factors, but I got to tell you that, if we have to find money somewhere, the fact that it's not in play right now or wasn't in play during the general session, during the regular session, may mean nothing." Right. So I think we just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he's like, wake me when it's over too. There's no point fretting about it.
And certainly as a budget conferee, he's going to be a great advocate for the commission, obviously. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Kathy? Okay. Well, thank you. Sure. Greg, do you want to go ahead then and give us the diseased microfilm update?
You're muted, Greg.
Everybody hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So I think John forwarded a spreadsheet related to the disease microfilm project with some numbers on there, and it's basically showing numbers of that related to disease microfilm reels that were transferred to Backstage, replaced, etc., going back to November 2019. So in October 2023 is when we changed the process of sending reels, the reels to Backstage. We started sending over 1,200 reels, and that Backstage would do all the evaluating of the film, to evaluate it for the film for cellulose acetate issues, for measles issues, redox issues, and so forth. And then around December, we began collaborating with Backstage on having Backstage do some minimal infolinks descriptions of the content that's on the reels, rather than having our imaging services staff do it. So basically, we wanted it Backstage to look at the reels. If there's a target on the reel, then they would enter the information that's on the target, the county name, the book, the date range, page numbers. They would enter that into infolinks. For those you may not know what infolinks is, it's our records management database system. And really, none of the microfilm reels that we have at the vault in the SRC were ever really entered into the infolinks database. So it's in an antiquated, different database that I don't want to talk about. It gives me nightmares. So so we wanted it would, if Backstage could do some of this basic data entry, it would help move the process along even more efficient and more quicker. So just to give you an idea how things have gone, between November 2019 and August 2023, there were a total of 9,277 reels sent to Backstage. Between October 2023 and this coming October 2024, we're expected to send 12,000 reels to Backstage. So I think that's a vast improvement over what we were doing pre-October 2023 by changing this process. And so since then, Backstage has been doing all the evaluation of the reels to determine the problems. And what they're finding is that about 73, 75% of the reels need to be replaced. So they're going ahead and replacing the reels. And so they're doing about 1,500, 2,000 reels and doing all this evaluation, replacing the reels, duplicating the reels, all within a span of 2 months, doing about 1,500 to 2,000 reels every 2 months. So they're doing fantastic work in that regard. Now, in regards to the InfoLinks data process, we're still in a pilot project phase with them. We've been in contact with Backstage in regards to how the process is going on their end. John and I have been in contact with Imaging Services about how this InfoLinks data entry is going on their end. And so we've gotten some feedback, and John and I will be meeting with Backstage here in about 3 or 4 weeks to get an update on and progress on this and what needs to be done going forward, any changes need to be made, so forth. So that's the disease microfilm update. Any questions on that? Barbara? Can't hear you, Barbara. You're muted.
Okay. All right. Well, you're going to hear my dog too. What types of records are we working with right now? Are these the county records or state records mostly, or?
These are all right now. So far, they've all been circuit court related records. The vast majority of these are 20th century records, deed books, will books. There are some older materials that are in there pre-20th century, but a lot of it, the majority of it is 20th century.
And we chose to start with local records because it was our estimation that there was the highest incidence of diseased film in that collection.
Peter, Barbara, did you have another question?
No.
All right, Peter.
Yeah, Greg, my only question was, okay, so we're expecting Backstage to do about 2,000 reels a month.
Every other month.
Okay. So about 1,000 a month then, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, how many more 1,000 reels do we think may be affected that we're going to be sending to them?
This is going to be like a decade-long project because we have 350,000 reels out at the record center around the state, local, and otherwise. So we're going to focus on the local circuit court records, state records, because it's going to take probably it's going to take a good while.
Yeah,
and that was the commitment that the General Assembly gave us.
And our original estimate was that 80% of the entire holding was affected. Just in what we've seen in the work completed to date, that number so far actually around 70%. So it'll be interesting as we move through the local records collection if that remains the same or if that goes down a little bit. But that's what we're looking at right now, is about 70% of what we've seen is diseased and needs replacement.
Okay.
And 2,000 reels every 2 months right now is Backstage capacity.
Right. So I mean that almost looks more like a 20 or 30 year project, though, at that rate than a 10-year project.
Well, it depends on the John, it depends on if our estimate of 80% is right or not. I mean, it's an estimate because you got to go through and open up the boxes to look to see if there are issues.
And one of the things that we'll be talking to Backstage about later this month is whether and how to increase their ability to process more. And of course, at either end of that equation, the money's the limit. But, you know, obviously we want to maximize the amount we're sending to them every other month. So we're going to be trying to do that.
Yeah. Which one final question, is the money that the General Assembly has allocated this year, I mean, is this earmarked for, especially by the General Assembly, for microfilm replacement, or is this just a dollar amount added to the library's general budget?
No, it was, it's a specific dollar amount, but it was, the budget language is pretty specific about it going to microfilm replacement.
Okay. Well, that's helpful. Okay, well, thank you, Greg and John. Are there any other questions for Greg or about that disease microfilm? All right, well, Greg, do you want to tell us then about the National Digital Newspaper Project grant?
No, this is the Circuit Court Records Preservation Grant.
Okay.
Yeah. The Circuit Court record, we had the Circuit Court Grants Preservation Program, the review board met in February, and to evaluate 124 preservation grant applications from 102 localities. The 102 localities is another record of participation. So we've broken the record participation for the last 8 years in a row. So more and more localities are participating. So the board evaluated the grant request and awarded 122 grant projects totaling $3.2 million. And so most of the approved applications was for conservation services of deed books, will books, order books, multiple, items that were in the courthouses that are in very poor, fragile condition. And also as well as loose records such as marriage licenses. And so these are all records that suffered damages from pests, from usage, from water damage, cellulose acetate lamination process. So we were able to help facilitate that. And the fact that we have increasing participation, it speaks well of our collaboration with the circuit court clerks and working with them to preserve their records. So since 1992, the Library of Virginia through the CCRP has awarded over 2,000 preservation grants totaling about $30 million.
Gotcha. I'm just curious, of the 3.2 million, is most of that actually for document preservation, or is it more courthouse security and storage drawers and stuff like that?
The vast majority is for document book preservation.
Okay.
There were a handful of grants for backscanning projects and equipment storage, but the vast majority of it was for preservation of books and original records.
Good. Any questions for Greg on that? All right. Well, Greg, why don't we move ahead and tell us about Virginia Untold update?
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, I'm looking at the old agenda. Do we now?
Yeah. I think it's going over to John for the SRC.
SRC, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Not at all. And these are pretty brief, but I think it's important that the ACRMS committee knows about these things. We've made 2 very critical repairs to the SRC in the past year, and it took that long. Well, the actual repairs themselves didn't take long, but the chiller replacement and the repairs to the blast freezer both took, because of supply chain issues, over a year to have completed, which was challenging for sure, because we had to stay with the chiller situation and a fluctuating environment. We had to be very nimble in responding to humidity and temperature spikes, which I've done. But the good news is that replacement has now been made, and that happened 2 weeks ago, and so far so good. I know that there are plans to overhaul the cathobar system. The cathobar system is the dehumidification system for the archives pod and the media vault, and that is original to the building. So that is also a bespoke piece of equipment. So we're working with a contractor to get the pieces spec'd out and ordered, and then we'll make that make repairs to that as well. That has not started failing yet, but it's at the point where it will. If time goes on, 25 years is a lot to expect from a piece of equipment that served us well. The blast freezer was another issue. We discovered, actually, it put a collection in there for preventative freezing. I don't know if you're aware that we have the blast freezer for two reasons. One is to help us to respond to emergencies or disasters where collection materials are waterlogged, but we use it most often for ensuring that pests are eradicated before we bring those collections into either the 800 East Broad Street location or to the archives pod at the SRC. So that was also a custom-made piece of equipment, dates to the original building, and the motor finally gave out, and that motor had to be custom built. And again, supply chain issues prevented us from having that done in a time frame that would have been much shorter. But that's happened, and in fact, we are currently treating a collection of 150 cubic feet that has just been donated to the library. So that's the SRC repair update. And the SRC expansion update, we really were hoping we would have good news being a groundbreaking date, but the project is hung up in DEB, Department of Engineering and Buildings. Just like all other projects in the state, every step of the way through the planning process, they get an opportunity to bird dog the work that DGS and our architect have done. And we have been waiting since October to get clearance on this section. And groundbreaking is completely contingent upon this happening. Once we get the go-ahead, we can schedule the release of construction documents for bidding and get that bidding process. If that were to happen today, it would take us about 2 months to complete that process, or actually take us about 3 months. So if we were let loose today, we could talk about scheduling a groundbreaking in August. That timeline will keep getting pushed back until DEB makes its, gives us the word. So any questions about that?
John, this is Peter. The only question I had is, are the repairs all covered by our existing budget?
Yes, we used maintenance reserve, and Greg contributed some local records money, because a lot of the records out there to be, that are being preserved are local records. So we were able to cover it. Wasn't easy, but we were able to make that happen. but none of that falls within the expansion budget.
Gotcha. I just wondered.
And and we knew this from the get or very early on in the process. The HVAC system for the new pod has to be separate from the HVAC system, the existing HVAC system. So there wasn't a way to sort of nuance that into the project.
Right. And the expansion budget, was that approved by the last General Assembly, or is that another piece that we have to wait and see what this General Assembly is doing?
We have been told by our DGS representative that the money is there, that if you remember, it was last GA session where they approved the increase in the budget to cover the cost of inflation. So that's there, and he assures me the money is still there. Nobody has gone back and retracted that money. So
good.
We have to rely on his word on that. And,
oh yeah,
our DGS representative has been fantastic.
Right.
I will say that.
Right. Okay. Well, good. That's very good. Does anyone have any questions for Greg on that? Okay. Well, Greg, that's the end of the agenda here. Is there anything else anyone on the committee wants to raise? Okay. Well, I think we're just about through then. Now, on the meeting at the meeting on Monday, John, may I just call on you, and you can call on Kathy and Greg as you think appropriate to report on these issues. Okay. All right. Well, great. Well, unless anyone else on the committee has any other questions or any other business, I think the committee. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Very good. We've a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Well, we'll see everyone on Monday then, either in person or virtually, we hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.